Hey, welcome to Dynasty SZN. We're going to have Austin joining us today for a little bit. I did record this previously and editing got corrupted, so I apologize that you're seeing this on Tuesday. You're supposed to see this yesterday morning on Monday before we got to the franchise tag deadline. So there is a little bit in here where we talk about Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson before we got the news we got today. So I apologize for that. Tomorrow we'll get a running backs video, kind of opportunities, kind of react to the Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers news, and some franchise tags. So take a look out for that one tomorrow. Otherwise, like the video, subscribe to the channel, make sure you leave a review on your Apple Podcast or on Spotify, and let's get into it. Wide receiver prospects. Who did good at the combine? Christian Watson from North Dakota State. It was like a sub 4.3 unofficial. It came back as 4.36 official. But he's one of those guys that when I was watching film, he reminded me of Deebo Samuel. Okay, he lined up in the backfield. He was getting jet sweeps from outside. He lined up all over the formation. He was used in motion. Like, he was everywhere. He's 6'4", 208 pounds. He's like downfield engaging with people in film, like in the RPO blocking. He looks like somebody that tested well at the combine. And the only question about him is he was at North Dakota State, which is he going to be able to do that against NFL talent? Who knows? But he was a big riser. Another big riser was Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce was my guy that I said was budget Drake London. After watching film, I think he was 7 in my rankings, maybe 8. But he actually went up after the combine. It was unofficial. I think 4.33 was his unofficial 40, but official was 4.41, which, to put that in perspective, Chris Olave, like, everybody was freaking out about his 4.26 unofficial. That 4.26 unofficial turned into a 4.39, where Alec Pierce was 4.41. So it's 0.02 away from Chris Olave, which Garrett Wilson actually beat Chris Olave. So, like, Alec Pierce is 6'3", 211 pounds. He played with, if he can make Desmond Ridder look really good, he can make any NFL quarterback look good. So he is going to be one of those not super flashy, not like a superstar playmaker, but he's going to be the guy who is a wide receiver 2 on an NFL team, who is productive, who is consistent, who you know what you're going to get. He just seems like he's going to be going up draft boards after the combine. But the big loser, probably David Bell. Like, David Bell, Big Ten, I don't know, I can't remember if he was offensive player of the year in Big Ten. I doubt it. I think it was wide receiver of the year for Big Ten. But like, that was with Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, that's the same division, and he came to the combine and he sucked. Like, he's obviously going to be a good player in the NFL. He's one of those guys who's going to go probably second, third round, who is going to be productive, not flashy, not insanely fast, not insanely big, not insanely athletic. He's just good. Like, he's not incredible at anything. He's just a well-rounded wide receiver who's not going to come flying off any charts, but we kind of expected him to test better. You're in a 4.65 40. The worst of all of my draft eligible, like, fantasy wide receivers. I have 16 wide receivers on my list. 4 of them did not run. Treylon Burks ran a 4.55. David Bell ran a 4.65. Everybody else was faster than all of them. All of them. Of the 16 wide receivers, Treylon Burks was technically, I guess he would be, 11th, because 4 didn't run at the combine. We didn't see Justin Ross, John Mechie, Jameson Williams, or Drake London run, all because Jameson Williams, Drake London coming off injuries. I I'll have to double check John Mechie because I thought he was there. I didn't. Maybe he was hurt too. I can't remember. And then Justin Ross, who's gonna be at his pro day, but he's 6'4", 205 pounds. He was the second receiver to like T. Higgins, and I guess third because Etienne was also in that offense with Trevor Lawrence. So he's coming out this year, 6'4", 205 pounds, like another big Clemson wide receiver. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, draft position, like draft capital and where they end up matters more than what we saw in college. If like Chris Olave goes and gets to catch deep bombs from Josh Allen every day, like I'm going to be really happy about it. Whereas I didn't really, watching him in college, you know, crowded wide receiver room, he still looked good, but I feel like Chris Olave is speed. Like he's Emmanuel Sanders. He's that guy who is not going to be an all-around, every down wide receiver in the NFL that you can count on. Like Emmanuel Sanders had a couple really good years, but you look at what he became later in his career, where he's just that vertical threat, that downfield threat that he was in Buffalo. You know, that's what I expect Chris Olave to be. I don't expect him to be some 1A or 1B alpha wide receiver. I just don't see it. But we'll see. Situation matters more than all of that, so we might as well talk about some situations. Austin, what is your number one spot for whether it's Devontae Adams or a top free agent wide receiver, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, any of those guys, or Treylon Burks, Drake London? You know, what's the best situation for a wide receiver to go to?
Now, it's looking like the best situation is definitely going to be up there in the AFC West. There's actually quite a few landing spots someone could go. You have Patrick Mahomes. They're looking for another wide receiver for him to throw to. They've been looking for another wide receiver for him to throw to. There was rumor they were going to sign Juju Smith-Schuster. That didn't end up happening. It could happen again. Or they could go for Amari Cooper, who just came free. Don't know if they're going to spend the big bucks on Devontae
Yeah.
Adams. Or they could really any of these top draft guys if they want to use one of their higher picks. I know they're going to be the low end of the higher picks, but they'll have a couple. And if they want to take a shot, someone can easily jump up to that number 2 wide receiver in that job. And then the other AFC West teams, you have the Chargers, which there's rumor actually I was reading that Mike Williams, if they don't sign him to a deal, they might franchise tag him, and that
Yep.
franchise tag deadline is coming up very soon. So we'll know more about that soon. But if they don't get him back, they have an aging Keenan Allen, and that's it. I mean, they have the young guy Josh
Yeah.
Palmer, but we don't know how amazing he's going to be yet. So that's definitely another great spot with another big arm in Herbert. And then
The
after the
Raiders.
Henry Ruggs
Yes,
debacle,
the
you
Raiders.
got the Raiders with another spot that's their only wide receiver is their slot guy in Hunter Renfrow, and then Zay Jones, who I think is even a free agent. So it's
He is.
Braylon Edwards is the
But
next outside guy.
now, here's the thing about Zay Jones, too, because Zay Jones looked like he had earned a spot in that offense at the end of last year. And then Bisaccia is out. They bring in a new head coach. They, like, all that equity that Zay Jones had earned by performing well in that offense, by stepping up when the team needed somebody, by showing that he was a valuable asset on that offense, just disappeared when Bisaccia left. And, you know, there was a lot of stories last year about him being Bisaccia's guy, and it showed. He was involved in the offense the second half of the year when they needed a receiver. But, like, Edwards hasn't done squat in who, like, they had all the opportunity in the world. Like, Darren Waller was gone. Hunter Renfrow was the one who stepped up, but I don't see Hunter Renfrow doing that year after year. He could. I think he's, you know, a phenomenal, like, short yardage, medium yardage, get you to first down, get you your yards over the middle. He's great in the red zone because he creates space, but he's not a run after the catch threat. He's not a speed threat. And, you know, the Raiders want speed. They want somebody who can take the top off a defense. And Derek Carr is about to get an extension too.
They could always try doing the Julian Edelman Gronk combo with the Renfrow and the Waller, but that's not the Raiders' style. And with the arm that Carr has, you want someone that can take advantage of it.
Yeah, I think Carr is criminally underrated too. Like, I think he has done nothing but produce. I think he's had varying weapons every year. You know, Darren Waller becoming a focal point of that offense. Like there was times when like Darren Waller, I think it was week 1 last year, got like 17 targets or something insane. Maybe it was week 2, something like that. But he got like 17 targets. And you see what a weapon in that offense with Derek Carr can do. And if they like, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Davante Adams is going to be with Rodgers if Rodgers is in Green Bay. But you know, all the rumors today, Davante Adams bought this $12 million house in Vegas or something, and Derek Carr was his college quarterback and all this. I don't buy into it. I mean, none of that stuff matters. I think if Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay, I think Davante Adams is in Green Bay, and I think we'll know that soon because, you know, Aaron Rodgers was pretty open when he said we'll know before like franchise tag deadlines, which, like you said, they're coming up. And I think if he stays in Green Bay, Davante Adams is very likely to get franchise tagged for 1 more year. I don't see a different really scenario for that playing out because if Aaron Rodgers is staying, they're going all in. Davante Adams is going to be there. Davante Adams is his guy. Like, I don't see Davante Adams hitting the open market unless we are for sure Aaron Rodgers is going somewhere else.
Yeah, and there's no way, even if they are going to keep Aaron, that they're going to sign Davante. It's 100% franchise tag.
Yep.
They can't afford more than 1 year. They can't even really afford the 1 year.
I just don't see them. I think they could afford more than 1 year if they did like a 4 or 5 year deal for big money and they push the salary cap like hit down the road with big signing bonus. But I don't see them wanting to do that because you're not investing in Davante Adams for 5 years if Aaron Rodgers is coming back for 1 more year. You're investing for that year because more than likely you're going to have to go into full rebuild mode after Aaron Rodgers leaves. I don't see any situation with their salary cap position, their recent draft capital that like Amari Rodgers. Okay, Amari Rodgers, we were all hyped up about him because he went to Green Bay, who needed a wide receiver. But after that, you know, he didn't do anything. They went in and brought in Randall Cobb.
Old Cobb. Yeah, exactly.
If your choices are between this guy you just drafted, who I thought Amari Rodgers, you know, if he was given an opportunity, could be pretty good, which who knows? He may get that opportunity because I believe Allen Lazard and MVS are free agents. So and Randall Cobb.
I'm pretty sure.
And Randall Cobb. Well, Randall Cobb is not a free agent. He's expected to be a cap casualty. He's making a bunch of money, is what I think it actually is. But he could always restructure.
Back to appease Rodgers too. So
yeah,
Rodgers is gone. Why the hell are they going to keep him around?
Also, if they decide to keep Randall Cobb, I would bet it's a restructured contract because he is owed a lot of money this coming year. And even if Aaron Rodgers comes back, I don't think they're paying that much for Randall Cobb with their cap situation. So I just don't expect them to be there. Allen Lazard or MVS, they may take a 1 year deal to come back if Aaron's there. Who knows? But I think Aaron Rodgers making his decision prior to free agency, prior to March 14th is the legal tampering period. So
yeah, I believe so.
The franchise tag window is coming, and that window is closing in a week. So we're gonna know soon.
March 8th is the last day that you can franchise tag.
Yeah, so we're gonna know soon, hopefully. Who knows where, but if that doesn't happen, all right, let's talk about a couple other situations. We just talked about the Packers a little bit.
The big situations with big arms and openings, but there's a whole lot of other situations with either questionable arms or who even knows who's going to be there. There's always, staying on the AFC side, you always have Baker needs another target.
Yep.
And
which we're seeing a lot in drafts, right?
Heavy offense, but they need someone to throw the ball to, and if they're going first round wide receiver, he's going to be relevant. If they go for a big name, he's going to be relevant. Whoever they get is going to be, because Jarvis Landry, I think, should be a cap casualty too.
Yeah, it's looking like Jarvis is going to be out of there. Also, there's been, after the OBJ stuff and, Jarvis kind of had his media moment a couple weeks ago where he was kind of vocal on social media about, being hurt and stuff like that and playing through it. I think he's a big part of the Browns locker room culture. I think, there was an interview where he said, I'm going to Cleveland and I'm going to work hard every day. This is me paraphrasing, but said something about he's going to go work his hardest every day and do what he can to build the culture in Cleveland and make sure that, they turn that team around. And I think he had a lot to do with the culture there as they started winning football games. He was their wide receiver. He was their guy. But, Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think, is criminally underrated. I think he's an athletic, fast, big body, good wide receiver who is in an offense that doesn't cater to wide receivers. I think he's going to be used as a deep threat guy if you used him like A.J. Brown on intermediate routes as well, he could be a monster. But that was kind of the Jarvis Landry area of the field when he was out there. So I think if Jarvis does leave, I think that Donovan Peoples-Jones could be good. I think he is better suited to that intermediate role and using his physical, like he's a physical player. He's not got elite speed. He's not going to, run away from anybody, but he's going to get the ball. He's going to fight for positive yardage. He's going to get some separation. He's going to make a good cut at the top of his route. But then they drafted Anthony Schwartz last year purely because he was fast. Like, he was the fastest guy in the draft. Like, we were talking about the Baylor wide receiver who ran the fastest 40. Like, he's not even on my list of wide receiver prospects. Calvin Austin, not even on my list of wide receiver prospects. Not because I don't think they're good, not because I don't think they're going to make it in the NFL. They're probably going to get higher draft capital than they should to be a gadget kick return player or somebody who's used like Rondale Moore. Like, I think Rondale Moore is somebody that could step into an opportunity this year. Let's talk about some like NFC teams. Cardinals, right? Christian Kirk, AJ Green, Andy
Whitfield's going to be a free agent too.
Andy Isabella seeking a trade. Oh no. But yeah, who cares? But they could use a wide receiver. AJ Green was a big part of that offense. Zach Ertz was a big part of that offense. Both free agents. DeAndre Hopkins was hurt for most of the season, so he didn't get to do a whole lot. But he's obviously going to be a huge red zone weapon still. He always is.
Yeah, they're another team that you can tell, like the Chiefs, they're searching for somebody. With their draft picks, they're searching. They grabbed Isabella, didn't work out. They grabbed
Rondale Moore.
We'll see if that works out. It might not. But they're looking for someone, and they're going to have someone relevant there next year. It could be any one of these rookies, or it could be one of these big trades.
And you saw them fill that in, too, with Zach Ertz after they lost the tight end. Like, it was Max Williams playing tight end for them most of the time last season. And then he got hurt, and they went and traded for Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz had a insane second half of the season. If you go look at Zach Ertz's stats, like the first half of the season, I mean, he was splitting time with Dallas Goedert. It wasn't anything special. He was clearly involved in the Philly offense, but he went to Arizona, and, the combination of them not really knowing how to use their personnel, like we talk about Rondale Moore and Christian Kirk, I don't know what their roles were last year. Like, I couldn't tell you what their jobs were if I wanted to, but you knew what AJ Green was doing. You knew that if DeAndre Hopkins was on the field, he was still going to be the guy Cliff Kingsbury was on Pat McAfee yesterday, said DeAndre Hopkins is the guy who wants the ball every play, and he's open on every play. And so, like, obviously his health was a big factor last year, and he still scored insane touchdowns. Like, you can't guard the guy in the red zone. He's going to be a threat. And then you add in Kyler Murray being able to get out of the pocket and move. It just adds another element to red zone success for that offense. And, touchdowns make a PPR wide receiver go from a wide receiver 2 to a wide receiver 1 because their red zone involvement and their ability to get open, score long play touchdowns, big plays, those touchdowns. That's what pushes those guys. Like, you compare T. Higgins to Jamar Chase. What was the difference? The big play touchdowns that Jamar Chase had, the big playability. Like, that's the difference of that tier 2 wide receiver to that tier 1 wide receiver. That's the difference you get. You look at Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had some dud games, but, he had those insane monster. He has that ceiling, that big play potential every single play, the ability to put up 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, So you're not going to get that with some of those guys. Like, some of those guys aren't red zone threats like that. DeAndre Hopkins is the guy who could go put up 15 touchdowns, and you're like, yeah, I could have called that one. So, but Amari Cooper, I think if he leaves the Cowboys, that creates a huge opportunity for the Cowboys. Like right now, we don't know. We assume Dalton Schultz is coming back. Like with the Blake Jarwin news, it's been reported by a few people now that Blake Jarwin had a hip surgery in February that has only ever been done on NBA and NHL players. It hasn't been done by any active NFL player. Now, he's under contract. He's going to be with the Cowboys, but they don't know if he's going to be ready for 2022. They don't know if he's ever going to be playing in 22 or ever going to be playing football. I don't know much about the injury. All I've read is that it doesn't look good, and it sounds like something that is going to be a serious hurdle to playing NFL football. So Dalton Schultz being a free agent, everything points to a franchise tag. Everything points to Dalton Schultz getting franchise tagged. And if Amari Cooper's gone, saving them $16 million, that puts them closer to the cap. You can easily, Zeke is already here for this year and next year because of his contract, so you can easily change some of that into signing bonus and kind of spread a little bit out. You've got other big contracts that still have a couple years on it that they can convert to signing bonuses, kind of bring that down a little bit. But, there's a couple cap casualties that they're going to lose, but Ian Rappaport today at the Combine said they want to bring back Cedric Wilson. They want to bring back Michael Gallup. And everybody's talking about them wanting to bring back Dalton Schultz. Now, if any of those guys do not come back, it's a huge availability for a wide receiver. That's a good opportunity. Cowboys run a ton of 3 wide receiver. They don't use a fullback hardly ever. They're a lot of 1 tight end, especially if they're fighting to get 1 tight end back on the roster. So we're talking about 3 wide receivers almost every offensive play. So if you can put out CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, who, let's not forget, Michael Gallup tore his ACL after coming back from an injury. He tore his ACL late in the season and didn't have surgery until, February? January? He tore it earlier in the year, but he didn't have surgery until this year. So he's not going to be back right away. He's going to still be recovering. It's going to be like OBJ. Start of last year, how come week 1 we're like, oh, is he even practicing? We didn't know. And then we went through that dance of OBJ, when is he going to play? Oh, he's warming up, he's a game time decision. Oh, it doesn't feel good, he's not playing. We could go through that same thing with Michael Gallup. So if they don't bring back Cedric Wilson, who I'm a big Cedric Wilson fan as a Cowboys fan. I love Cedric Wilson. He's kind of that depth wide receiver who every time he gets an opportunity, he balls out. He comes out, he throws wide receiver passes with this insane tight spiral, and it's the most beautiful pass of the whole game. So it's I love Cedric Wilson, but can he play in every down role? I mean, he kind of did it a little bit when Gallup was hurt, but if they don't bring one of those guys back, there's a huge opportunity for a wide receiver.
Yeah, and if they do go for a wide receiver, they'll probably more likely go in the draft than in free agency with their cap situation.
Yep.
Because they can't get rid of Amari Cooper because we can't afford a wide receiver, and then go out and pay someone what they could have just paid Amari Cooper.
Well, and that's the thing about Michael Gallup. Even if he's not ready for the start of the year, is his market in free agency going to be that insane with him coming off of the ACL? Not that I think he hasn't proved that he's earned money, because Michael Gallup was a 3rd-round pick who went out and balled out for the Cowboys. He was an incredible outside wide receiver. He's a big body. He'll go up. He'll make some spectacular catches. He made an incredible touchdown catch. I think of the game he got hurt. It might have been the play he got hurt. I can't remember, but some incredible corner of the end zone catches. He's earned his money, but he got hurt and he didn't have surgery until the offseason started. So what does that do to his market? Is he going to get lowballed by teams because he's not going to be ready to start the year? And I think if that happens, there's a big possibility the Cowboys are the ones who bring him back because of that injury discount, and they know what they're getting. But other than that, if he goes out and he's actually commanding what he's earned, because I think he's earned more than what he's going to get, I don't think the Cowboys will be able to compete if he's out there getting if he's getting wide receiver 2 money. Are the Cowboys going to be able to pay it? Who knows?
Anything more than like 13 mil a year, I think
Exactly.
the Cowboys might start being out on him.
Yeah, because at that point, you got to look at the rest of the free agent class, and he's not going to be ready at the start of the year. Obviously, he's been there. You know what you're getting. He knows the offense. But if you're paying 13 mil a year when you could go, especially with CeeDee Lamb, right? If you didn't have CeeDee Lamb, it'd be a different story. But you do. And as much as Michael Gallup adds another weapon on the outside, you can go. He was a 3rd-round draft pick, and you can go draft one in the 2nd round this year. Go draft Alec Pierce in the 2nd round, and I'm happy, right? Like, I love Michael Gallup, but the Cowboys cap situation is going to be a little interesting, and they're going to have to probably franchise tag Schultz, which is going to be a good chunk of money.
Yeah, it's looking like a couple teams might be tagging some tight ends because of the way the tight end market's working.
Yeah.
They can save a whole lot of money tagging them for this year than paying them at the new rate that they're trying to reset on tight ends.
Especially after, tight end university and all these guys are trying to get paid, and they're talking about how much the tight end position does and what they should be getting paid for. And you talk about these guys downhill blocking and like pancaking people, and George Kittle out there just running people into the ground. When you talk about them doing stuff like that and wanting to get paid more, and you look at Travis Kelce and the top end guys, it's like, okay, I can understand them wanting to get paid more. But then you look at the top, 3 guys, and then everybody else below them is just nowhere in the same playing field. So it's going to be interesting to see how they are able to reset that. But, you've got young guys like Micah. He's shown his ability to make big plays. You've got Kyle Pitts, who at some point this tight end market will go up, but who knows when it'll be. It's not going to be this year because owners are going to do everything they can to not pay it. So, and there's actually quite a few good tight ends in this draft as well. So I don't think the tight end free agent market is going to be anything crazy. Like, I don't think Jared Cook is going anywhere to start, right?
No.
Like, Rob Gronkowski, if Rob goes to the Bills, like, that'd be sick, right? Can you imagine? I'm only happy because I own Gronk and Dawson Knox, but Dawson Knox owners would cry. But I don't know. I think are there any other big? I think those are some good wide receiver landing spots. Are there any we didn't talk about?
Yeah, so there are a couple that there's no good competition at all, so they have an easy path to being relevant. But
Detroit?
They have no quarterback. Like Detroit, like New Orleans.
The Eagles need a wide receiver.
Michael Thomas, I haven't seen him on the field in who knows how long. I don't believe he's a receiver till I see him again.
The Eagles have been trying to draft a receiver forever, and they've been failing.
Yeah. The Eagles, if they draft someone, avoid it. If they sign a big name, go for it. The Eagles can't draft someone. It'll be a bust no matter who it is.
As a Cowboys fan, I never want to give the Eagles too much credit. But as a Jalen Hurts owner in Dynasty, I'm torn because I want to talk about him as a passer. And I do think he took a step up this year as a passer. I still don't think he's an insanely good passer. I think he's average at best. But his legs are just such a weapon. And I think that this was really his rookie year. So I think the fact that they've committed to him, and if they can go get a couple weapons, and we could very easily 2 years from now be talking about Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts the way we're talking about Daniel Jones this year, right? Like, declined 5th-year option for Daniel Jones, and going into a year with another new head coach and another offense, and is Kenny Golladay going to be his wide receiver 1? Is Sterling Shepard going to be back? We could be having a very similar conversation about the Eagles next offseason, the offseason after that. It really just depends on if Jalen Hurts takes that step forward and what weapons they put around him. So we could see them draft a linebacker and an edge rusher and a wide receiver in the first round, and Philly fans would be so ecstatic. They'd be so happy to see them draft a linebacker. I don't know if you saw on the combine coverage, they had Gio the podcaster. He's the I think it was Philly Sports with Gio or something is how he started, but he's one of the podcasters out there. He's a big Carson Wentz fan. He's been on Pat McAfee. He was on the combine coverage, and big Eagles fan. He goes, Howie, for the love of God, draft a linebacker. And Rich Eisen's like, all right, you heard him, Howie. So, and then later he posted a picture of him with Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman and said, don't worry, guys, I told him to get a linebacker. So we're probably seeing Nakobe Dean or Devin Lloyd, one of those guys go to the Eagles in the first round if they're still there. There's been some crazy talk about like the Broncos at 9. Yeah, I've seen mock drafts with the Broncos at number 9 taking a linebacker.
Well, where did Micah Parsons go? Was that 10?
11?
Somewhere around there.
11 or 12?
I think you're right. It was like 11, 12. That's
yeah. So I could see it happening, but man, quarterbacks are going to go up. Like
they're going to fly up.
Quarterbacks. Okay, we're at the point right now where everybody's talking about Kenny Pickett's 8.5-inch hands, and my flaw.
How little people thought about Mac Jones at this point?
Yes, yeah.
He was a second round, like a fringe second rounder, third rounder at this point still, and then he flew up. So these quarterbacks are going up.
We're at the point where we talked about Aaron Rodgers. We didn't talk about Russell Wilson, but we can a little bit. We didn't talk about the Washington Commanders trying everything they can to get any quarterback they possibly can.
Even reaching out for Patrick Mahomes.
But we're at the point of the offseason where the QB carousel could happen or nobody could go anywhere. If Aaron Rodgers goes back to Green Bay, Derek Carr resigns in Oakland, Russell Wilson goes back to Seattle, Jimmy Garoppolo just had shoulder surgery. Like, we could see Mitchell Trubisky right now is supposedly the top free agent quarterback reported by Ian Rappaport and the people at the Combine from coach's interest. Mitchell Trubisky. Okay, that tells us where we're at.
Between Trubisky, Winston, and Mariota, we have a first, second, and third overall picks, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Available in this free agency.
I think that Winston is going to end up back in New Orleans. I know it's not Sean Payton. I know it's but it's Dennis Allen. He was still there. I don't really think they got to see what he's got. I think they're going to have a very awkward season. I don't think they draft a quarterback this year. I know they could. It
feels like a tank and reset season.
Exactly. That is exactly what it feels like. But we're talking about an NFL team who no NFL team wants to lose unless maybe you're the Miami Dolphins. Now, I think that the best situation for the Saints, though, is to reset and go into next year, rookie quarterbacks. We got Bryce Young and I can't remember the other one. There's a couple big names coming in the 2023 class for quarterbacks that actually will go fantasy top of the first round. It's going to be really weird seeing super flex drafts this year because you actually have a chance to get a quarterback in the top of the second round. Who knows what they're going to be? Who knows what their landing spot is at this point? But
who knows who turns into the Josh Rosen of this draft class?
If nobody goes anywhere, if Jameis goes to New Orleans, Derek Carr stays in Vegas, and Russell stays up in Seattle, Aaron stays in Green Bay, we're out of QB carousel quarterbacks. At that point, we're talking about people like Teddy Bridgewater, Mitchell Trubisky, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston. That's the tier of players we're talking about. So
don't forget Blaine Gabbert over there in Tampa.
He
hasn't played with a team like that once, Arians.
If those quarterbacks don't go anywhere, these quarterbacks in the draft are going to skyrocket. If Pittsburgh doesn't get a quarterback, if Carolina decides Carolina is the weirdest place for quarterbacks. Let's just forget about it. But they could easily draft a quarterback. The Broncos, if the Broncos are out on the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes, and if they are out on free agents, they can't get somebody that they feel is a big replacement over a Drew Lock, or They don't want to trade for somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo or sign a Mitchell Trubisky, which I think all of those are lateral moves, right? I don't think any of those greatly improve their team. They might slightly improve their team, but they're not like changing the projections for the Broncos, even though the Broncos really do feel like they're a quarterback away, right? Like they've got a good defense. They got to bring in some linebacker help. They've got good corners, got a good secondary, but they don't have somebody to throw the ball to their great wide receivers. Like, right? How are you going to pay Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy? Well, Jerry Jeudy's still on his rookie deal, but Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, you know, you have KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy on rookie deals, but you have nobody to throw him the ball. Like, Jerry Jeudy is open every play, I swear. But
yeah, it feels like the team. I heard that they are making a big push for Rodgers. They are apparently offering a lot of picks, and recently I heard it reported. But if they don't get Rodgers, they might be the team that settles for Jimmy G.
They also
we got everything but a quarterback. Let's see if we can make it work. Sam Fran couldn't quite do it.
They also got Nathaniel Hackett. So, I mean, Rodgers' QB coach just went to be their head coach. So, like, Peter Schrager was talking about Nathaniel Hackett today on the Combine, and he said, I'm basically just staying out of it because the last thing I want to do is try and talk in Rodgers' ear and tell him to come over here and piss him off, and he never comes here. So I'm just going to stay out of it and let him make his own decision, and if he wants to come here, of course, I'm going to welcome him with open arms, something along those lines. But, like, who knows where these guys are going to go. There's one last wide receiver possibility that I want to talk about, and that's the Jets. Because you, as a Jets fan, you know, you guys drafted Elijah Moore. He looks great. But Jamison Crowder's gone. Keelan Cole's gone. You guys still have Corey Davis, who
Berrios was a free agent too.
Berrios is a free agent. You guys don't really have a tight end. Like,
no, it's looking like we're definitely gonna have to sign a veteran tight end, draft a wide receiver, or sign a veteran wide receiver, draft a tight end. I hear a lot of talks of people wanting to draft Dalton Schultz, or Gesicki, or personally, I would like Njoku is a good wide receiver or tight end that's coming up.
Yeah.
But if we don't go after that, I hear a lot of draft Trey McBride to fill that hole. He's definitely the number one tight end name that I hear. But when it comes to wide receiver, there was a lot of talk that because of Elijah Moore's size, that he would be the slot guy.
Yeah, I remember last year that was
someone else on the outside.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people saying it'd be great having Davis and Cooper on the outside with Moore in the slot, and then just draft Trey McBride, and then that be the offensive weapons.
I've seen a lot of mock drafts where you guys take like Drake London at 10 or something like that as well.
At 10, I see a lot. He's the most common at 10 I've seen.
Yeah, I've seen that. If I was a Jets fan and looking at your guys' team, I would rather take a second round wide receiver.
Yeah, we can grab like a Pickens in the second. I'd be fine with
that. Something like that would be phenomenal because then, like, 4 and 10, there are corners, there are edge rushers, there are offensive linemen. There's going to be very, very good players there where I feel like what you're getting in Drake London, you can find somebody where the skill difference between one of those edge rushers you're getting in the second round versus at pick 10 or at 4, like if Thibodeau falls to you guys at 4, right? Like it's a no-brainer. And
yeah, it's not no hesitation on that one.
And then you go to 10, and if there's a Sauce or a Stingley or there's another one that's flying up boards right now. But it's like if you guys get a corner at 10, that helps so much. Like, and Saleh came out and said they're going to try and improve this defense. You know, obviously he's a defensive head coach, but he made a point to say, you know, we're looking to improve the defense. Are they not at the Combine? Did I see the Jets are not at the Combine at all?
I don't know specifically from today, but I saw a couple days before the Combine that they weren't going to send someone out to the Combine. They were going to focus on scouting,
pro days
scouting pro days and scouting the free agent class too.
Yeah,
on making good free agent decisions because we have a ton of cap space.
Yeah.
We'll check the numbers of the Combine after. There's nothing to really see there. Plus, they can do all of the interviews remotely. I think a lot of the teams are doing the interviews remotely. so they didn't have to physically show up for the interviews, and that's really what the teams care about the
And
most is
those
being able to talk to
questions,
them and figure out what kind of people they are.
those questions that they can ask, it's an 18-minute interview that they get, and all the rules on the questions they can ask are so strict. Like we hear about Sirianni with the 5 like mini basketball hoop shots, and
Sam Howell didn't do too well and doesn't think they're going to draft him.
well, I don't think they're
2 out of
taking a
5,
quarterback anyway. So, but
Yeah.
the questions that they can ask are so limited, and they kind of restrict the ability to go outside of the box and ask kind of, because there used to be those shock questions, that totally off the wall question to get you out of your comfort zone and see how you answer on the fly. You're not allowed to do that anymore. It's all more of a scripted format, and you're really just kind of getting the ability to, all right, I'm going to ask you questions about your offense and how it ran and how it functioned, and I want to understand your football IQ of what you were doing. Because, you start asking other questions, a lot of it is very scripted, but the coaches, I believe they get to pick a certain amount of players. I don't want to give the wrong number, but I think it's 30 players, I want to say. That could be wrong. I have to double check. But 30 players that they get to have a one-on-one like overnight visit with. And so they get to reach out to those players and get more in depth, ask those questions they can't ask at the combine, and really get to understand them as like a culture fit for their team that you don't get at the combine. So we'll see more of, as teams go through the next 2-3 weeks of interviews and we see pro days, we're going to see these wide receivers that are all running sub 4.4s get courted by every team. So we're going to know who likes who very early. It's not going to be like last year, where last year we didn't know. The drama was Mac Jones and where's he going, right? Who did the 49ers trade up to get? What's going to happen? And we're not really going to have that this year. I think anybody could go anywhere. We're not really like there are a couple teams that we project, like if the Panthers take Malik Willis at 6, like that's a big move. Like, but otherwise we could see a quarterback not go until 20, right? Like I doubt it falls that way once we get there, because like we were talking about, those guys are going to be pushed up. But
they're going to talk about it themselves and hype their own numbers up between the teams that need quarterbacks. Yeah. Teams do that all the time, where they start desperately needing a quarterback. It gets out there, and then suddenly the price of quarterbacks goes up.
We've already heard GMs and coaches say the price for veteran quarterbacks right now is way too high. So it's going to force rookies. It's going to force Kenny Pickett and his 2 gloves and 8.5-inch hands to go out there and sling the rock. And I won't be drafting him. So, but I'm going to let other people determine which quarterbacks are good, and I'm just going to judge their situation. But Kenny Pickett is probably off my board with 8.5-inch hands.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Vick did it, but yeah, Kenny Pickett doesn't have those legs.
A football around here somewhere. I don't know where it went, but I have a football. It's a Nike, one of the Nike balls. I have 9-inch hands. 9-inch hands. If I hold the ball up and I shake it, I can start losing grip of the ball. It is not as big as an NFL ball. I have 9-inch hands. The dude had insane fumble problems in college. I can't. Obviously, he's a hell of an athlete, right? He wouldn't have gotten to where he is. He understands the game. He can throw the ball. I'm not worried about him throwing the ball. I'm worried about a 300-pound man hitting him in the side and him hanging on to the ball. That's what I'm worried about. And I'm going to take a line from, Broshmo, our favorite Mock the Mock guy. I'm not going to bet on the exception. And that's just how I feel about Kenny Pickett. I'm not going to bet on the exception. He was my number 1 quarterback coming into the offseason. Everybody says, hey, he played in Pitt. He can play in cold weather. He can hold on to the ball. Well, he could hold on to a college ball, and he still fumbled a bunch of times. So now you give him the Duke, and that thing is massive. Not betting on the exception. So if Malik Willis goes at 6, I will riot, though. Do you think anybody
that's too
trades
high?
up? No, I don't think that's too high. I think Malik Willis is the one guy. Well, there's two guys in this draft class, and you could argue a third, in my opinion, that could go in the top 15 picks, and I'd be okay with it. Malik Willis, Sam Howell, which coming into the year, he was expected to be the QB1 when we went into last season. He lost all his weapons in college and still had a good year. Ran for almost like over 800 yards, like threw 9 picks and like 30 something touchdowns. He just didn't tear it up, which he lost all his weapons. Like he still had a great year, still looked like a good quarterback, got a hell of an arm. So he's up there in my top 3. But the other one is Matt Corral. And like we didn't get to see him at the combine because he's recovering from that knee injury that he had in their bowl game. But he is going to have a pro day. And after that pro day, I expect him to go up draft boards even more. He's a mobile, accurate, not insanely strong arm quarterback, in my opinion, who, he gets out of the pocket, he extends plays, he's not overly fast. He's not a run first quarterback. Like we talk about Jalen Hurts and like him being an average passer. I think that the ceiling for Matt Corral as a passer is higher, and he doesn't have the rushing upside that Jalen Hurts has. But when you talk about his rushing ability, it's very Patrick Mahomes-esque. Like, we don't think of Patrick Mahomes as a runner, right? But he has ran for like 600 plus yards almost every season. He gets out of the pocket. He extends plays. When we see those crazy sidearm throws from Mahomes, it's because he's gotten out of the pocket and he's running away from a defender. Well, he doesn't always throw it. He tucks it and runs it at times too. And that's the aspect of Matt Corral's game that I think will be good for fantasy. He's obviously not going to be Patrick Mahomes, but I think he has the mobility like Russell Wilson to extend a play, get out of the pocket, and make an accurate pass. But we'll see where he ends up and what his opportunity is and what NFL teams think of him after his pro day. It's just unfortunate that he hurt his knee in his bowl game. But, hey, Jameson Williams is probably still going to be a top wide receiver off the board. Matt Corral is going to be a top quarterback off the board. We've seen enough of these guys to know that they have talent. So I don't think the combine and them recovering from an injury is truly going to affect that. Like the other guys who didn't work out at the combine are not really going to be affected. Drake London, he's like we said, he's getting mocked at 10 to the Jets. All right,
Yeah, he's being mocked as like the first or second wide
yeah,
receiver.
him and Garrett Wilson up at the top. And then you got Jameson Williams, who more than likely is going to be a mid-first round pick. He could fall to the second half of the first round because of his injury. If quarterbacks and other positions start getting bumped up, he may be an early second round pick, but that would be insane to me. It would be crazy to watch him fall into the second round.
Yeah, I could honestly see the Chiefs grabbing him at the end of the first before letting them go to the second round.
Another team that when I first started doing mock drafts and I was thinking about who the Cowboys should take, Jameson Williams was the top of my list at 24. Especially because, like, me and you have been talking about Amari Cooper being gone since the beginning of February, right? You looked at his contract, we knew he was gone. I was talking to Luke today, who I texted him on February 14th, and I said, hey, you might want to look at shopping Amari Cooper. My next text to him was, it may not happen, but it's more than likely he's going to be a cap casualty. And, he texted me today with breaking news, Amari Cooper is going to be out of Dallas. It's like, yeah, man, we told you this weeks ago. Like, I even went back and found the text where I told you to shop him, right? Like, we can look at contracts and we know when somebody's more than likely going somewhere. Now, that doesn't mean that
can lie, but those numbers won't.
Yeah, those numbers tell you everything you need to know. The only time that you're going to get something where the numbers shock you is when the team takes a loss in money to get a player off their roster. And the biggest example is Jalen Smith, right? Like, Jalen Smith got paid, had a very subpar year, when the Cowboys defense was awful, and then they said, yeah, I know we just paid you and we have all this dead cap, but see ya. It's another one of those kind of head scratchers, but hey, it is what it is. Hey, at least the defense was good, but now that's a team that needs linebackers, so we'll see. Leighton Vander Esch, free agent, so they've got Micah Parsons and Jabriel Cox.
Yeah, I was big on Jabriel Cox. I thought he was falling when no one was taking him.
Well, he was one of those guys who, like we just talked about with Jameson Williams and Drake London, he was one of those guys who was hurt, didn't participate at the combine, didn't have a pro day, and because he didn't get those workouts in, he was just tumbling in the draft. So we'll see if Dan Quinn likes him. I think they're going to bring back Keanu Neal, but we'll see. The biggest thing I took away, though, from the combine is that this wide receiver class is super deep, and we're looking at probably another year of wide receivers trying to get big money and not getting it. Remember, Juju ended up going back to Pittsburgh. I think the wide receiver class, and we talk about wide receivers coming in more NFL ready now, and how quickly we're seeing rookies produce just at a faster rate. They're running cleaner routes. They're getting more separation. College is running at a faster pace. They're throwing the ball a lot. You know, these guys are just more NFL ready, and rookie contracts are cheap. The class is deep, and I think free agents are probably going to suffer. So we just got to kind of wait and see where everybody lands. Once franchise tags get official, we can come on and talk about those and see how it affects some of these landing spots, not just wide receiver franchise tags, but we can talk about, you know, tight ends and even some defensive players that are probably getting a franchise tag. Jesse Bates, maybe. You know, there's a lot of guys who are going to get paid. But this is a fun year to look at why IDP is good, right? Because this offseason, there's some big defensive names moving around, and there's a lot of good opportunities. Linebackers. There are so many good linebacker opportunities this offseason, and we have good linebackers in the draft that, like, IDP is going to make rookie drafts very fun this offseason. So if the Broncos, the Eagles, the Cowboys, if any of them take a first-round linebacker, I might take him in the first round of our rookie draft, right? Like, that might be how high they are, just because of the lack of top-tier talent on offense. Everybody talks about this class sucking. What do you like overall? What is the consensus of the 2022 class?
Everyone thinks that it sucks, then it's just bad. But I feel like it's the quarterbacks are bad.
Yeah,
the running backs are meh. But people aren't valuing the defense, and the defense is where it's at in this draft.
yes.
There's going to be a lot of solid edge rushers, more than last
Yeah,
year.
there are like 5 edge rushers who are being mocked in the top 10.
Yeah, all
like,
of them better than the best edge rusher of last year's class too.
Yeah. Like Jalen Phillips,
be a much bigger names.
Jalen Phillips and Greg Rousseau were the top.
Kwity
like
Paye were the top 3.
Yeah, Kwity Paye was like draft capital, but I think the top like big name prospects were Phillips and Rousseau. Where this year the big name prospects of Hutchinson and Thibodeau just blow them out of the water.
Guys looking at being not just good at their position, but straight up best in the entire class.
Yeah.
Best since Chase Young.
Yes. And it's going to be lots of this year's draft is going to be lots of wide receivers, corners, offensive linemen, and defensive linemen. Like, that is all we're going to see in the first round. You're going to have your Kyle Hamilton go off. You're going to have, some maybe Devin Lloyd, maybe Nakobe Dean. One of those will probably go in the first round, maybe both, maybe none. But there's no the blue chip, like the top tier talent that we're looking for in quarterbacks, I think is why everybody's discrediting this draft. There's a lot of wide receivers. And like you said, the meh running backs, Some of these running
There's
backs.
going to be 3 or 4 solid ones based on the open positions, the open teams.
Yep.
There's going to be some good ones.
And we'll
just
talk
because
more
they're
about
getting the
that.
volume, they're good.
We'll talk more about running backs on the next episode. That's what we're going to put out on Wednesday. This episode is going to come out on Monday, but we're recording it on Friday. This weekend we'll get one recorded for Wednesday. If you want to hear them right after they were recorded, as soon as I'm done editing and putting everything together, it will go up on Patreon. Those Patreon tiers are $3, $5, $10. Obviously, if you just want to get into the content, see our rankings, see our information, see what we've got going on, that $3 tier will get you in there. Also, it's going to get you into Discord, where we've got mailbag questions, sections, anything you want. We'll talk about some trades. We'll kind of give you our opinion on whatever that may be. It is just kind of getting started. We're kind of figuring everything else out with Patreon and Anchor and publishing podcasts, and it's a first for me, first for Austin, I would assume. But it's gonna be hopefully right now Monday, Wednesday, Friday during the off season. That's what I'd like to do. I'm gonna start putting together some kind of templates on what we're gonna discuss. Right now, what you can expect until we get to the NFL draft is probably less prospect talk as we get into free agency, because these prospects, we're going to be talking about situations, because whether it's a free agent wide receiver, running back, tight end, or a rookie of those positions, the situation is what we're ultimately going to be judging them off of for the most part. We're obviously going to take somebody's talent. Like if Devontae Adams went to the worst possible scenario, I'm still betting on Devontae Adams. But when we look at these wide receivers, your hit rate past the first round of wide receivers, the odds of you getting Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or one of these guys in the third round, they're minuscule.
Yeah, rookies aren't going to be breaking record year after year after year. That isn't going to keep happening.
We have seen some incredible prospects, and Jamar Chase being one of them. Jackson Smith and Jigba next year out of Ohio State, the guy who was the wide receiver 1 ahead of Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. Yeah, that dude is going to be he's going to be a top 10 pick next year. Like, he's going to be incredible. But we don't have that prospect in this draft, and it's going to be interesting to see where they all go. Once we get to those crazy prospects, we'll kind of factor in their talent just as much as their situation. But right now, we got to see who goes where, and we got to know where quarterbacks are before we start really judging wide receivers. Because
some landing spots can be good or bad depending on who's throwing the ball.
Yeah,
we don't know who that is yet.
I loved Terrace Marshall last year, right? And that season started out nice, and they were 3-0, and then, well, we won't talk about it. But we can love a wide receiver's landing spot. I use Terrace Marshall as my example because I loved it because of their offensive coordinator being his college coach. They went out, they got him. They, had all the hope in the world. They brought in Sam Darnold, and we were really banking on a Adam Gase being the problem and not Sam Darnold being the problem. Well, it looked like Sam Darnold might be the problem. So we'll just have to judge our situations after this supposed QB carousel and go from there. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be putting out more consistent videos. We're going to go from Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Hopefully, in the future, we won't have the corruption issue we had with the edit I made on this last weekend. Should have came out on Monday. Hopefully, we'll get that Monday, Wednesday, Friday going forward. We'll get you some IDP information as well. So, tampering period's coming next week. We just finished with the franchise tag deadline, and we'll touch on that a little bit tomorrow. And look forward for more podcasts. Have a good one, guys. See ya.